And welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and it is show number 206. Thank you to our live audience here on Facebook and proud member of the Education Podcast Network, as well as Voice Ed Radio Canada, or wherever you are consuming podcasts. It is great to be with you, show number 206. Today, we are going to meet Miss Latisha Cole. She is bringing leadership, she is bringing energy, and she is bringing a voice for some different groups that maybe don't have the voice to be represented. So we're going to learn about her journey and about her, and we will meet her in a minute. I'm excited to meet her and talk with her here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. If you're watching live, certainly jump in the show, leave a question, leave a comment for us, and it is nice to bring our guests or people watching into the show. So we'd love to have you join us. We were supposed to have Latisha on Tuesday, and we had some technical difficulties. So we made it work. She adjusted, and we were able to get her in. So thank you for tuning in. Okay, show number 206. Let's get started. No sponsor today, but I do want to give a shout out that my newest book is out, Tales from the Hardwood. Check it out. It's not just about refereeing. It's about leadership. It's about life. And it is about leading through so many different scenarios, so many different pressure situations. I went back when I was a Division I men's basketball official. So I would love for you to check that out. It's on Amazon. You want a signed copy, catch it from my website, andrewmurata.com, and I will get you that copy. All right. It is May 12th. When we are recording this, and we're coming down the stretch, right? Latisha is down in Dallas, Texas, and her year is wrapping up sooner than us here in the Northeast. But coming down the stretch, what are some things that we need to focus on? What are some things that are in our sights here? Administrators are busy. We're getting pulled. It's warm. The kids are getting excited about summer, and so what are some things coming our way? Number one, recognition. Make sure we're recognizing all of our people, right? The award ceremony, certainly for the kids, the recognition ceremony, but we just had Teacher Appreciation Week. It was just Nurses Day the other day, Hero Day in our cafeteria staff, recognizing our custodians, our people, our stakeholders, and certainly the parents and the kids at these recognition ceremonies coming down the stretch. Number two, planning for next year. What is your focus? What is your points of emphasis? What are some things you want to accomplish? Everyone's looking to get to the finish line of this year. What are some things you as the leader are doing behind the scenes to get ready for next year? Number three, hiring. What are you doing to bring in great people to your school district? What are you doing to advertise and celebrate your school to be attractive for new staff coming in? Number four, what are you doing for self-care, right? It's hot, you're running around, you're busy, and again, what are you doing to take care of yourself, right? I've talked about this. I read The Miracle Morning this year, and man, I love being up early, taking care of stuff, hydrating early, and I just feel rejuvenated. What are we at? 5, retiring. Who's retiring in your district, and how are you honoring those people? Are you spending a little extra time with them? Are you recognizing them and making things significant for them? And lastly, support, right? How are you supporting people coming down the stretch? People are tired. People are, again, looking at the end of the year, continuing to do a good job where they are, and how are you as the leader supporting them? So just some things in our world as school leaders coming down the stretch. And speaking of school leader, let's bring Latisha in here, live from Dallas, Texas. She's in the middle of obligations there at her school. Latisha, welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for making this adjustment. I know we weren't able to work out the other day, but you squeezed it in here. So it's nice to meet you. Latisha, tell our listening audience a little bit about you, where you're at, and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am in Dallas, Texas right now, but I am far from home, home in Chicago for me, born and raised. And so I've been in education for 12 years. I've served in many different capacities within the educational realm. I have served as teaching and leading in about four states here in this country: Michigan, Illinois, Texas, and then a little bit in Oklahoma. And I also have served teaching and leading outside of the country, opening schools in Nicaragua as well as Jamaica.
Wow.
So I have a true love and passion for education, just like everyone who's listening. But I'm also willing to travel to do it. So I currently am a assistant principal over a special education program, and then actually over the only deaf education program in Dallas, ISD. So it's very unique. We have 2,000 kids in our building. It is things going on all the time. It is a very unique place. And so I just love what I do. I love working with so many different populations. But my passion is really just bringing resources and helping educators be able to work with and grow students in marginalized groups.
Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, Letitia. But you heard the opening concept. What are some things for you that you're focusing on, and did anything on that list resonate with you?
Everything resonated with me, and I loved getting the reminder that I have all of those things to do in the next 2 weeks. I have teachers, paraprofessionals retiring who've been in this one building for 35 years, so we're having a big party for her. Parade, communities coming out. I mean, it's going to be a big shindig. We have, those teachers who might be new and just need those extra supports over the summer to get ready for the next school year. And so those things are always important. And sometimes we get so busy with the student activities that we forget about how much support our teachers need going into the summer. They're tired. You don't want to overwhelm them, and you want to celebrate them for all that they have done for you this school year. But we also want to make sure that they're set up for success going into the next school year without trying to scramble when school starts back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I learned this from Todd Whitaker, right? We take care of the teachers as leaders, and then they take care of the kids. And that's something that we can't lose sight of. Um,
Absolutely.
Letitia, you're in Dallas, right? You're not a Southerner, you're down there. Tell me about your style, right? Like, what is your style as a leader? How do you establish some of your strengths and work through some of your growing points as a leader in a new place? It's not new anymore, but it was, a couple years ago.
Yeah, so it's definitely different stepping into an entire different state because laws are different, cultures are different. But I think, even if you are going to a new school in the same state, you still have to learn the culture of the school. So there's always going to be an adjustment. But for me, my leadership style is I'm very human centered. I'm all about the human aspect, making sure that people are whole, emotionally, mentally, physically.
Mm.
On my calls with my teachers, meetings with my teachers, I always tell them, and I always end my meetings with, "You cannot pour from an empty cup. Take time for yourself, your families on weekends. I'm not going to bother you after 5 p.m. I want you to be at home with your families, get replenished, get the rest that you need, and then you're full to come back to work the next day or after a weekend." My door is always open. I'm huge on building relationships, even in the beginning of the year. I actually spend 15 minutes with every single one of my teachers, and I actually manage about 45 adults in this building, in 15 minutes each. I want to know what they've done over the summer. I want to know how they like to meet, how they like to receive feedback, what their favorite candy is, because if I know they're having a bad day, they're going to have that candy on their desk. I want to know who they go home to because that's super important. What supports do they have at home? Who's there when they get home? Is there no one at home, right? All those things are important to understand where your teachers are and what they can give to your students and where they are in their journey. And so again, just starting that first relationship or continuing the relationship with just 15 minutes just to sit and chat and catch up before we get into the work. is really important, and I think it goes a long way.
I love that. I love that concept, and look at you making it personal, right? How do they want to receive feedback versus you just barge in their classroom and start giving them feedback? And yeah,
Exactly,
kudos to you
exactly.
for asking. Latisha, what would you say are some of your strengths?
I definitely, again, I'm human centered. I really am good with making those connections, and not only just connections. I'm really good with keeping meaningful relationships. I think that what I've found in education is a lot of times things can be transactional. And I think that can be in any business, or, in the business world, things are very transactional relationships. What can you do for me? How can you produce? And it's kind of that relationship. And I've never been in favor of that type of relationship. I really do want a wholesome, meaningful relationship.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Sometimes your teachers won't be able to produce for you. They're going to have bad days. And so being human and understanding that gets them ready to produce at a later time, but actually being able to know right now they can't. What do they need right now so that they can eventually get to that point? But taking a step back and really just understanding that everyone can't be at their height all the time, but then also what can I do as a leader to help them get there
Hmm.
and support them in that?
Letitia, you're doing something so unique and different, involved with deaf education with someone who's not deaf, right? You are blessed with hearing. Tell me about this journey and some of the things you've learned in working in that culture and that environment. And I'm so curious about
Yeah, no. So when I came to Dallas and I took this position, I knew that I would be over social studies, is what I actually accepted in May. And then there were some people who got promoted. And so my principal came to me and said, "Hey, I know you have a background in social studies, but I know you also have a background in some special education. Do you mind being over our special education program? Because the best candidate we have, he's only good with social studies." And I
it.
said, "Sure, no problem." Team player, right? Go where you need it, right? So sure, no problem. And most places, when you just say special education program, it is typically the norm, right, of special education. But here, deaf education also falls into the special education umbrella in this building. And so, number one, I have deaf teachers, right? And so, in a meeting looks very different for me. I have an interpreter, I have my teachers. Sometimes, if we are working with parents and they're Spanish speaking, I have a translator, an interpreter, a teacher, a student. So you got all these players in a meeting, and so I will say that the first couple of times I was like, wow, this is a lot. But it was so fascinating,
Mm.
truly, to number one, my teachers were awesome to welcome me in, to teach me everything that they could possibly teach me about deaf culture. And just being in that space. And so as I'm, you walk into a building and you're like, I have so much to learn about being in Dallas, right? But I had even more to learn just to even be able to serve this very unique population that was on my campus. And I was so excited to do it. There was a lots of things that I had to improve for that population because they literally had been forgotten. And I think that in this 3 years, I can confidently say that I have met all my goals. And my students are thriving, my teachers are thriving, and it has just really been an awesome journey.
Wow. Wow. So tell me about that. Like, how does a regular education student communicate? How, like lunch? Like, how do they, how do you make all that work?
Yeah, so that was one of the deficits when I got here. Our students were super isolated, meaning
Yeah.
like they would schedule all of the deaf education students in one class.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that means that my high school students who were deaf weren't able to pick the classes that they wanted to take, like the electives, like the gen ed.
Mm, mm,
And so that right there is exclusive, right? Thinking about extracurricular activities, they weren't able to participate because there was no interpreter to be there for the extracurricular activities. So all they could do is go to school and go back home. And many of them are actually bussed in from surrounding suburbs because, like I said, our school serves all of Dallas deaf education, but it also serves many of the suburbs surrounding Dallas because there's not a lot of deaf education programs in schools. So I had two. big issues, right? I got kids who are being excluded from choosing classes, and I also have kids who are being excluded from extracurricular, which is
Mm,
huge to me.
mm,
Extracurricular activities are very important.
yes.
And so I had to first go to the counselors and say, hey, I'm sorry. I know it's like August, and I know you guys have the schedules, but we gotta redo everything.
This ain't working for me.
Yeah, special education has to be scheduled first.
Yeah.
And then we build around that. And so I had a great team too. All the other assistant principals, my principals agreed that absolutely should be done. So my kids are now able to pick the classes that they want to take. And we actually make sure that we have interpreters for those classes. Um, my kids also are now a part of so many different extracurriculars. So you come to our football games, you have our deaf education students signing with their teammates who here. We also have an ASL class here, 4 levels of it. So our gen ed
Oh
students are
wow.
taking signs so they can communicate with their teammates.
Wow.
And they have deaf education students in their class. So, gen ed with deaf ed, and you just have an interpreter and a teacher. So they are working with each other and they want to learn science so they can
Yeah.
communicate with their teammates and their classmates. And again, just bridging that gap, bringing diversity, so much diversity in the building, but bringing it together so kids can truly benefit off of learning from different groups and different cultures in the building. It's been awesome.
That's beautiful. If the kids that take ASL, is that count as their language credit? I mean, they learning
Yes,
that.
it does. Yes, it counts as
Wow,
a language.
that's
Yes,
beautiful.
it
Wow.
is. It's
What
awesome.
what percentage would you say the kids can lip read? Right, if the interpreter's not there, how well
Mhm.
do they do with that?
So you have some students, and so this is a very serious statistic. Over 90% of students who are deaf, parents do not sign. So you are dealing with
Wow.
students who literally have very little communication at home,
Yeah.
which causes lots of issues for those students. And so you really kind of find yourself with students who are really only communicating with their friends. And if you can imagine students learning from students, moral things, ethical things,
Mm,
can get really, it can get really murky there.
yeah.
And so with our students, I mean, if they don't have parents that sign, some of them have really struggled, and they will learn how to lip read. It's not very many of them, though. To be
Mm,
honest with you, most of them do depend on ASL, and then writing. They will write to communicate with their parents at home. So I would say out of my population, I would probably say about maybe 15% can lip read
okay.
fluently. I mean, like, really can understand it. But the rest of them really do rely on ASL.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. And I know technology has helped. We have a few deaf parents in my district, and I know we've done Google Meets where the closed captions come on. And this show, when it airs on Facebook, it is showing it closed caption, which is nice for people. Um, but that's just great. Letitia, how has this part of your life improved you as an AP in the area of communication, right? Do you communicate differently other than trying to sign as best you can? But how do you feel that it's improved your overall communication?
Yeah, I think that it has definitely deepened my understanding of true communication, right? And knowing culture first, right? You cannot communicate with someone unless you know their culture. And I think a lot of times you think about culture as being like ethnic or where someone comes from, maybe race, but it could be something as simple as how do they communicate? What is the culture and how they communicate?
Mm,
Do they use ebonics? Is that, do they use sign? Do they have little communication at home? Right? Is that the culture of their house where they don't really communicate? Maybe they scream and yell at home. All of that is communication. And so really just thinking about that on a deeper level and making my teachers aware that we really do need to understand how our students communicate. Because if we don't understand how they communicate, we will not ever be able to effectively communicate with them or help them grow in the communication that, of course, is more socially acceptable. Um, I think that for me, having teachers who are deaf, students who are deaf, just always now I'm always cognizant. I have to have an interpreter there. If I don't, I'm literally being exclusive. I am not including them in that learning process, and I'm making them feel not included. And think about how many of our students feel the same way, even though they are not deaf and they don't need an interpreter. But what are we doing when we are excluding people and we don't even really know it, or we're not mindful or cognizant of it? And so it has changed me in so many ways. But again, just that big piece of being very cognizant of how I communicate and thinking about how other people communicate, how they want to be communicated with. Because again, we cannot change, mold, grow anyone without effective communication.
Well said and well thought out. Latisha, I admire you as an advocate for, as you said, groups of marginalized voices, right? The deaf population, children of color, the different minority groups. Tell me about that journey. And was this something that you kind of always had inside of you, or did it, working with the deaf population, did it come out more?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a person of color. I think that I think it's been in me. I would say I will always remember a teacher that I had my sophomore year in high school. He was a social studies teacher. His name was Mr. Vanek. And so he was a white male. And he just really sat down and had a candid conversation with my class. And I was in an AP class. I've always did great academically, but he really just broke down um, the obstacles that children of color face, as far as accessing resources and education, and then just the differences. And he pretty much just gave us that call to action, like, what are you guys going to do about it? You are the cream of the crop of the school. You have, the academics, you have the charisma. You guys are, honor students. But what are you guys going to do about this to
Mm.
change it for uh, people to come and follow behind you? And so, as a 15-year-old, you're like, wow, that's a lot. That's heavy. But I want to go hang with my friends after school. But you plant those seeds, right? And so that seed just continued to grow. My dad also was a huge advocate for me, just to truly really understand where I come from, understand my culture, understand my strengths, understand how I can help. Both of my parents are actually huge advocates in the community with working with children in different capacities. And so, again, I just had a lot of different influences in my life that kind of planted seeds, and then it just grew from there. And so when I went to college, undergrad, I originally went actually to go into nursing, like my mom. And when I got there, I realized that, wow, this is too sad for me. Kudos to the nurses who do it every day, but it just wasn't for me. And so I got an opportunity to study abroad and work with children there, and I just fell in love. And I said, this is my calling. This is what God has put me on this earth to do, and it's to educate, and it's to be an educator. And so from there, it just grew. And again, like I said, just working with marginalized groups and working with students of color, being a person of color, I think it is definitely intrinsic. But with everything going on in the world, it's those daily reminders that work has to be done, and it can't stop. Got to keep going.
Yeah, and you're literally doing it, right? You were challenged as a youngster, and here you are. You're serving in schools, but you're
Yeah.
also doing some work outside of that. You have your consulting business. You're speaking, right? The
Hmm.
diary of a mad black teacher, and mad isn't angry, right? You're making
No, it
a
is not.
difference if it's on the
Yeah.
scroll there. Tell me about that journey and some of the things you're doing in that work.
Yeah, so again, that's that seed that got planted just is just another branch off of the tree. And so Diary of Mad Black Teacher is, like you said, MAD is actually stands for Making a Difference, and it is just a space for teachers and parents who work with students of color, students who work with students who are in marginalized groups, to come and get resources on how to better help grow those students, and help those students develop throughout their educational journey, and their life journey. Um, I think a lot of times, parents just don't know where to go. Teachers don't know how to get those resources. I have
Yeah.
these students in my class. I want to help them, and I really just don't know how. And so that place is where they can go and just pretty much be fed, so that they can then take that back and help their students, whether it's their actual own students or their students that they work with every day in class.
Yeah. Well, good for you in doing that. And I know you're starting a podcast. There's a lot that you want to do with that. So, uh, what are your next steps? Where do you go from here with that work?
Yeah, so of course, the podcast I plan on relaunching very soon. I've just been really busy with the school year, and
Yeah.
so I definitely want to, get back into that work. Consulting because there's just such a high need. You know, I think for me when I first started consulting, it was more so focusing on working with administrators, working with teachers, but I have really come to find that there are lots of parents who really need help as well. Not only, of course, like implementing strategies with their students, but really just how do I get my child through this education system? How do I get them through it successfully? And of course, with COVID changed so many things.
Hmm.
um, we have now have to really be conscious about social emotional, right? Like parents are starting to feel that like my child isn't the same, like like they are not doing well, or how do I address these things? And so I think for me, really kind of shifting my thought of just really helping those parents as well who reach out and trying to get them the resources, as well as working with educators, is a little bit different than what I originally thought I was going to be doing when I set on this journey.
You're right. They do need help, and good for you for finding that. Right. You started on your journey. You had a destination, but because of your passion and your influence, that changed. I want to get my book to you, Latisha. I wrote a book called The Partnership, and it's about
Okay.
us as schools reaching out and building that partnership to help these kids. So we'll set that up. Don't hang up when we hang up, and we'll make that happen.
Okay.
Um, Latisha, another passion of yours is traveling, and you mentioned about doing some education work in Nicaragua and different places. Where did that bug of travel come, and why do you love it so much?
To be honest with you, my mom and my dad always made sure that I went somewhere different every year for spring break, growing up, and so maybe that's where it came from. But my actual first out of country trip was actually, or international trip, was actually when I went to study abroad in Jamaica. So from there, I have not sat still and talked to my mom. She's like, "Where are you at now? I don't even just tell me where you are." So, no, I love traveling, and I love actually meeting the people when I travel. You learn so much
Yeah,
from the local
yeah,
native people. It's invaluable information. It truly is.
yeah. And it helps you make connections with people, right? You meet a different person from a different race, and oh, yeah, I speak a little Spanish, or I've been to that part of the country, right? It's
Mhm.
just you're able to make connections, and it's more than a dinner conversation, right? You're able to
Yes.
because that person identifies with you once you know a little bit about them. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. You've mentioned your parents a couple times. I know they've been great mentors for you.
Mhm.
Um, what are some skills? What would you say are the top one or two things that they gave you that you use as a school leader now?
Always treat people right. I
Mhm.
mean, and I think that's so basic. Um, but you know, my dad and my mom, they expected me to respect everyone. It didn't matter what your title was. You're a human, you deserve respect. And so when I go into a building, my custodians get the same celebrations that my teachers get,
Yeah.
because they all do work to make this building run. And so I am truly grateful for that being instilled in me. I think it has, like you said, those connections allow me to make connections, allow me to have meaningful relationships, and truly allow me to lead with ease. I don't have to force people to follow me. When you show people respect and you show them love and you show them care, they'll follow you anywhere. They truly will.
Yeah. Letitia, you can tell you're a beautiful person, how you care, treat people, and the work you're doing. And I want to connect you with some of my groups here so we can help get your voice out there and your message. Um, Letitia, what was something that you wanted to share that I didn't ask you about?
I think the biggest thing right now on my plate is really, like you said, the partnerships is really just, um, I guess, calling to action our leaders in school to really make an effort to connect our communities with our schools.
Yeah.
Um, so many places they're disjointed, and we really do need the whole community, whether the community resources, the parents. It should be a tight partnership between the school and the parents, because I feel like everybody's working in silos right now. Parents are, overwhelmed. The teachers are overwhelmed. Administrators are overwhelmed. But if we can come together and truly partner with each other, we can really make this work for our kids. And again, I know it's difficult. COVID has changed things. Um, Statistics are going not in a good way right now.
Yeah.
But again, partnering with each other and really realizing that every stakeholder group is valuable. They really are, and they really bring something different that makes the entire school community thrive. Um, and so I think that that's probably that's what I want to say to everyone.
Well, that message is loud and clear, and you can hear it, and we know that you're doing it, and kudos to you. I know you have something here, Latisha, you got to go to, and I'm off to a community event. So let's wrap up. This is the rapid fire portion of the show. These are quick answers,
Oh, here
Latisha.
we go.
And the first thing that comes to your head: Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
She's from Illinois. Of course, she's ready. Here we go. Last book you read.
How to be a transformational principal by Jethro Jones. I'm not done. I'm almost done, but just got my hands on it a few weeks ago. So
Yeah, and you got to get on his podcast. I'm gonna connect you. He's
yes,
fantastic. Yeah, cool. Last movie you saw?
the House of Gucci. Really interesting. I didn't
Did
know
you?
that.
That's
I
Lady
didn't know
Gaga,
that.
right?
Yes,
It was
yes. I
good.
watched it actually on the flight. Watched it. Yes, it was actually very good. I learned a lot about the Gucci family.
There's some high-end retail places. The line was out the door. Gucci the other day. Crazy, crazy. What's your favorite dish?
Oh my God, I love food. Oh, one. Um, right now I've been like addicted to shrimp and grits right now. So I'm gonna go with shrimp and
Mm,
grits for now, but it changes so much because I just love food.
that's an all-day menu item, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Uh,
Whenever I get a chance to eat.
I can't narrow you down. I know you can't just pick one. So give me two or three favorite places. If you got a free ticket on a plane, where you going?
Oh, Jamaica's always gonna be near and dear to my heart. I love the people there. Barcelona, beautiful.
Mm,
Love the people
mm.
there. Um, oh, I'm gonna, I'm just gonna go Turks and Caicos because it's like my favorite, like relaxing. If you don't want to do
Yes,
anything, you just want
yes,
to look at some beautiful water.
yes.
Amazing. And I can't leave out Belize. Belize also has beautiful water, beautiful people, super relaxing.
My wife wants to go on one of them little huts that's like over the water.
Oh, the water, the villa.
She wants to do that. Yeah.
Yes, love.
A journal or a blog you subscribe to?
The newest one is Branching Minds. It's really focused on MTSS intervention, and it's phenomenal. So if your schools need some help with that,
We do.
yes,
Branching minds.
yes.
I like
Mhm.
it. A stress reliever, a go-to stress reliever.
Oh, I run every morning, so I try to get in at
Mm.
least 2 to 3 miles in every morning, just to start my day, so that I'm not stressed.
Little warmer down there in Dallas than Illinois. Just
Yeah.
yeah. Um, a pet peeve of yours, something that gets under your skin.
Oh, wasting time. You can't
Mm,
get it back.
mm.
That's a pet peeve.
Yeah, I texted you
Wasting
the other
time.
morning. It was like 6 over here, and you responded. You was up. Give me two recent victories.
Um, we got 100% audit for our special education program. So everything was 100%. That is definitely a win. That means we are in compliance. Our kids, students are getting what they need. And then actually one of our units got a washer and dryer. So now our students can learn life skills,
Mm.
washing and drying and cooking. And so it just adds to all the wonderful things that they can do around here to just get life skills before they get into the real world. So that was awesome.
Love it. At 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, I feel fill in the blank.
I feel wonderful at 8 a.m. I've worked out. I am probably about to get some errands done. I've chatted with my mom for our morning prep talk, and I'm good to go.
She ready to go. If I were to visit your hometown, and that could be in Dallas or that could be back home in Illinois, Where are you taking me?
I'm going to take you to get some deep dish pizza at Giordano's.
Mm.
And then I'm probably going to take you, if it's summertime, and this is Chicago, I'm probably going to take you to on the boat, on the lake, and I'll have an Italian beef waiting for you there because
Oh my
that's
goodness.
awesome.
Oh my goodness. The deep dish pizza, for those not from the Chicago area, is the real deal. New York, yeah, I'm a New Yorker. We got the thin crust. That
Yes,
deep dish pizza, that's a full course meal.
yes, it is.
Yeah, good. What's one thing you're curious about?
Um, hmm. I think because it's just on my mind, I'm curious about how this Deaf Education Summit is going to go. Well, I
Yeah,
can't speak for 3 days.
3 days.
So,
Don't do it. You're gonna get kicked out. Don't do it.
I know, right? So I'm super curious about how this is going to go, but I'm excited. I think I'm going to learn a lot.
Latisha, I'm going to challenge you here live on Education Leadership Beyond. I write a blog and I'm inspired by different things, and I think you're going to come back with a wealth of that. I challenge you to write something, maybe what you're curious about, what you think, and then write the second half, and we'll publish that for you because I think you're going to be transformed, as you mentioned about the transformative principle.
I take on that challenge.
All right, let's do it. Something about Latisha Cole that people do not know about.
This is weird, but I have a plate and 4 screws in my jaw here from a softball injury
Get
when I
out.
was in school. Yes.
Oh my goodness. You get when they scan you at the airport that you got to say, I got the plate.
It doesn't go off. It's titanium. So,
Oh my God. You really are Superwoman. Holy cow. I was sensing that. Wow. And that was a bat or a ball? What happened?
so I was a pitcher. It was a line drive back to the mound, catcher, pitcher, error, and throw assigned, for the pitch. It was an error there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you see those girls wearing the face mask now. And you, wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
now, yeah.
God bless you. Well, you looking good, girl. So whoever the surgeon was, did good.
He was phenomenal. He was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes.
God bless you. All right, Latisha, I got your website on here. People want to know your story. People want to learn more about you. How can they do that?
Yeah, please just check out my website, Diary of a Mad Black Teacher. There's email. You can contact me through email. You can contact me through phone. But that's probably the best way to get in contact with me is going through that website.
Awesome. And check that out. Again, Latisha Cole. Latisha, you have Twitter? I know you have Instagram. You have Twitter?
I do not have Twitter, and I know I should probably get
We're
it.
going to
but I
get
don't.
you Twitter and we're going to get you Facebook. We get you set up.
Yes.
Latisha, you said a number of beautiful things today. How about a quote? You have something you'd like to end with?
Yes, my favorite quote is actually by Cornel West, and it is, "You can't lead the people unless you love the people, and you can't save the people unless you serve the
Ooh. Say that one more time.
people." You can't lead the people unless you love the people, and you can't save the people unless you serve the people.
That is beautiful. Wow. Latisha Cole, ladies and gentlemen, wonderful job. It was an honor to meet you. I know you got to run. So check out her stuff and we'll get this podcast out there. We're going to sign off here. It is show number 206. Latisha, it was an honor. I wish you the best in your journey. Stay on the line a second, all right?
Thank you for having me. It was an honor to be here.
It was fun. I'm glad we worked it out.
Yes.
Hang tight. We're going to get the music going, and here we go. Show 206, everybody. Keep surviving and thriving. If I could help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out at Andrew Murata 21 on Twitter. Keep rolling.